means we are on day 18 in skills. And before we jump into our reader story, let's go over a few of our letter sounds. I've added some of our new sounds to our stack, so it's gotten a little longer. We learned this one just a couple days ago. It is w, as in where, when, whisper. It has that w, that breathy w sound. This is one of our new sounds for s, our spelling. This will be found at the end of a word. This is another one of our new spellings for the s sound. It can be found also at the end of a word. This is one of our new spellings for the n sound. It will be found at the beginning of a word. This is one of our new spellings for r that we learned before you got out, before school closed, so you know this one. R, oi, ow, aw, j, b, l, e, oo or qu, or th, ng. We're going to do something tricky with that one, so I'm going to lay it to the side. K, z, y, x, w, g, a, r, sh, ch, m, n, d, or, r, e, I, ah. We're back at the beginning. All right. We are going to jump into our reader story. We're going to come back to this, so I'm going to put it up at the top. Today's reader story is in your Kitty Cat book, and you can find it on 18.2. So I want you guys to pull 2 pages from your Kitty Cat book. Pull 2 pages out. Pull 18.2, that's your story, and pull 15.3, that's your story questions. So, first, 18.2, and go ahead and pull 15.3 and have it ready. Alright, here's 18.2, it's our story, The Visit. Try to get it as big as I can. There we go. The Visit. Where's my pointer finger? I don't know. Alright, I'll use my actual pointer finger. Reader finger ready. The Visit. The Spitzers are on a trip to visit their grand. It's a long car ride from the farm. Their dad drives in the morning. Then their mom drives after lunch. Grace and Jill feel like the trip will never end. At last, they get to Grand's place. Grace and Jill run up to their Gran and hug her. It's so nice to see you, says Gran. Gran, Jill says, can we run down and swim? After the long car ride, the children need some exercise. Gran smiles. She grabs her knapsack and points to the flip-flops on her feet and says, I'm all set. Flip your paper. Grace and Jill get dressed for swimming. They rub sunscreen on their arms and legs. Mr. Spitzer helps them rub the sunscreen on their backs. Once the sunscreen is on, Grace Grace and Jill run down the path to the cove. When they get there, they wade in, yelping as the cool waves crash past them. Grace and Jill splash and ride the waves. They dig for crabs and pick up shells. They toss a frisbee back and forth. They munch on snacks and sit in the sun. It's fun to visit with Gran. All right, hold on to that paper because when we do our questions, we will refer back to it. Okay, so in the story, we heard the new spelling for the whoop. We saw it and we heard it in white and, oh, that's the wrong one. Miss Queen is on the wrong page. I started to say, we did not. Let me get on the right page. Okay, this is the right story introduction. So in that story, we saw our new spelling for the N sound in knapsack. We also saw our spelling with the C that makes the S sound. That's one of our new ones in nice, place, and exercise. And we had some two-syllable words, frisbee, sunscreen, and flip-flops. We had a three-syllable word. They threw one in there, exercise. We can clap that out. We know that every syllable is clapped with the sound of the vowel. So, exercise. 3 syllables. You guys are reading such big words now. All right, you heard the words flip-flops, and we all know what flip-flops are. Those are open-toed shoes with 2 straps across the foot. You heard the word cove. A cove is a small area of ocean, partly surrounded by land. Wade is to walk through the water. So if you're in the shallow part of the water, in the ocean or in a lake, that would be wading. And yelping. Yelping means to make a quick, high-sounding cry. All right, so now I want you to pull out 15.3, and we will answer our questions. Keep your story handy. We may have to refer back to it. All right. There's our questions. Number 1. How did Grace and Jill feel in the car ride to visit their Gran? So if we go back to where they were driving in the car on the first page, it tells us that Grace and Jill feel like the trip will never end. Have you ever been in a car ride and it felt like you were never going to get where you were going? I used to feel that way when we would go on vacation. So, how do Grace and Jill feel in the car ride to visit their Gran? Starting with the capital G for Grace and capital J for Jill. Grace and Jill feel like the car ride will never end. Period at the end. So, we used capitals for Grace and Jill. Those are their names. Plus, Grace starts the beginning of our sentence. We used punctuation. We wrote neatly and used finger spaces. We spelled all of our words correctly. And we restated the question and the answer. How do Grace and Jill feel in the car ride to visit their Gran? Grace and Jill feel like the car ride will never end. All right, number 2. What do Grace and Jill do to get set to swim? What did they do to have to get ready to swim? And we know from the story they had to get dressed for swimming and they rubbed sunscreen on, okay? That's a good thing to do. We all need to use our sunscreen if we're out swimming. So let's put that in a complete sentence, okay? So we'll start. It says, what do Grace and Jill Jill do? So we'll start with Grace and Jill because we're telling what they did. Capital G, Grace and Jill get dressed for swimming they got dressed for swimming and they put on sunscreen. So, and rub sunscreen. This is a compound word. Sun, screen on their arms and legs. Yeah, on. Tricky word there. T-H-E-I-R. Arms and legs with a period. This is a very detailed answer based on what we read in our story. So if you have a shorter answer that's less detailed, that's okay, but I want at least one detail from the story in your answer, okay? So you can say Grace and Jill put sunscreen on their arms and legs to get ready to swim, or you can say Grace and Jill got dressed for swimming. It's okay if you just give me one detail, but I want you to make sure you use your capitals where needed. Write in complete sentence with a period at the end. Use your nicest handwriting with finger spaces and spell your words correctly. And make sure you answer the question, okay? All right. Flip your paper. We have one more question. I was expecting 2 on the back. 1 is not bad. I'll take it. All right. Name 3 things Grace and Jill do with Grant. So on the back of your story, near the end, it tells us what they did with Grant. So we'll start. Name 3 things Grace and Jill do. So we're going to start with Grace and Jill. That's who we're talking about. Capital G, Grace, and capital J for Jill. Grace and Jill. We know that they ride the waves. We look back at our paper. It tells us that they ride the waves, comma, we're making a list, so we need a comma. They ride for waves, dig for crabs, dig for crabs, comma, I'm still making my list, and pick up shells with Gran. Now Gran is what they call her, so she needs a capital on her name. Period at the end. Your answer does not have to match mine, okay? In our story, it tells us that Grace and Jill splash and ride the waves, dig for crabs, pick up shells, toss a frisbee, munch on snacks, and sit in the sun. You can name any of those things, okay? You can name 1 or 2 of those things. Your answer does not have to match mine. There are lots of answers you can give me for that, but I want it to be accurate to what our story says, okay? So even if you just pick one thing to tell me, make sure it's actually in our story, okay? Answer with a complete sentence. Use capitals where they're needed and punctuation. Neat handwriting with finger spaces and spell your words correctly, okay? All right. Earlier, I told you that I was going to stick our NG to the side because we were going to come back to it later. And we are. We are going to learn ng. Now we say ng as in thing and sing and looking and barking, but this can also, it also has a little different sound. It's an N sound. I'm going to put my spelling tree up here. Make it a little bigger. It's still an N sound, and it falls under the NG. It falls under the nk, because if you say nk, you can have a K sound at the end, nk, or the G, ng, okay? But they both fall under this sound. So on our spelling tree, the ng can be as in sing, long, barking, or it can be just the n with a k at the end. So pink, think, chunk, bank, okay? And those fall under this letter team, although it's not always spelled that way. So it's a very similar sound, ng and nk. Sing, bank, long, chunk. See, the sounds are very, very similar, but they're not spelled the same. Barking, think. It sounds very similar, but it's not spelled the same. Sing, ng, long, ng, barking, ng, just the N with a K, pink, think, chunk, bank. Okay? When you say them together, when you say sing and bank, those sounds sound very, very similar. Okay? And it's a little tricky, but we'll continue working with it, and the more you practice it, the more you'll get it. Since we're doing that, though, I want you to pull out 19.3. Pull out 19.3, and we're going to practice a little bit with our spelling. Our spelling with our new sound. If I can get the whole paper on here, that would be great. All right. So we have words with both sounds, okay, sing, pink, same sound, different spelling. This one is the NG spelling. This one is just the N spelling, okay? So, this is page 19.3. If you're still looking for it, it's page 19.3. All right, let's get started. NG spelling, N spelling, okay? Pink, and they have bolded our N's for us to help us out. Okay, so our first word, pink, does not have an NG. It just has the NK, so it will go in our column with just the N. Pink. We can mark it out. All right, next word, sang. Sang has the NG spelled NG. So sang will go in this column. So if you see the sound nk spelled with an NG, it goes here. If it's spelled with just the N followed by a K, it goes here. All right, next word, thing. Thing has the NG. It goes in our NG column. We can mark it out. Next word, long. Long has the NG spelling, NG. So it goes in our NG column. Junk. They have bolded the N and there's no G. Junk goes in our N column. Junk. Finger. Finger has the NG in a pattern. All of the words that have the NG spelling go in this column. All of the words that do not have the NG spelling and just have the N go in this column. So I think this one's going to have way more than that one. All right, next word, drink. And they have bolded the N. We don't have an NG. We just have the N. So drink goes in this column. Mark it out. All right, next word, jumping. Jumping has an NG at the end, so it will go in our NG column. Jumping. Mark it out. Sting. Sting has the NG, so it will need to go in our NG spelling. Sting. We can mark it out. The last three, I'm going to let you guys do all by yourself. Wing, bank, and singer. I want you to put them in the right column, okay? While you're finishing that up, I'm going to grab our spelling words, and we will do a really quick spelling test. I call it a test, but you know, it's really more practice for you guys. So you guys finish that up. I'm going to grab our spelling words. All right. If you want to grab a piece of paper or use a whiteboard, or if you just want to hear me as I call it out and spell it to me out loud where you are, that's fine. So if I call out the word dog and you just want to sit there and say D-O-G, dog, perfectly fine, okay? This is practice. I won't be grading it, okay? All right. First word for our spelling quiz, maps. Maps. All right, next word, number 2. Mice. Mice. Number 3, hammer. Number 3 is hammer. Number 4, trimmed. Trimmed. Now I didn't say trimmed. I said trimmed. Trimmed. Number 5, skipped. Skipped. Remember when we make something past tense, we may hear a T. We don't spell it with a T. Skipped. Number 6, scrub. Scrub. Number 7, space. Space. Number 8, tricky word, could. Number 8 is tricky word, could. Remember, our tricky words don't follow our sound rules. That's why they're tricky. Number 9, compound word, knapsack. 2 words together, knapsack. Put them together, make one word, knapsack. Number 10, last one. Number 10 is blouse. Blouse. All right, guys, it's been another great week. It's really hard being here without you. I'm ready to come back to school, but this is Friday, so have a great weekend.